Chewie! Guess what premiered on Disney Plus this weekend? Not this. Welcome to Teacup for One. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees. Friends, something amazing dropped on Disney Plus this weekend. WandaVision, WandaVision, who's been messing up everything? Okay, no, not WandaVision. Okay, well, technically, yes, the series finale of WandaVision did release on Disney Plus this weekend, but we're not talking about that yet. No, we are talking about the other thing that released on Disney Plus this weekend. Disney's newest animated feature, Raya and the Last Dragon, also known as the latest Disney princess movie. Guys, this is a big deal. Disney is known for their princess movies, but this isn't like back when I grew up in the early 90s when we got a brand new princess movie almost every single year like clockwork. No. Disney princess movies have become like Adele albums. There's no set schedule for them. You don't know when they're going to release. Therefore, when they show up, it is a big deal. The last princess movie Disney put out was Moana, and that was, brace yourselves, 5 years ago. Yeah, I know, it feels like yesterday, but it was 5 years ago, so thank you, Moana, for reminding me how quickly time is just passing me by.
What can I say except you're welcome?
Now, I respect that Disney has thought outside of the box, and they've given us really wild, crazy, risky movies that have turned out to be incredible, like Wreck-It Ralph or Zootopia. But as far as I'm concerned, those animated fairy tales, those Disney princess movies are still the staple of Walt Disney animation. But with that said, forgive me for saying this, I don't think we've had a truly great princess movie since Princess and the Frog. Now, don't mistake me, I love Tangled, I liked Frozen, and I respect Moana, but... Okay, and I'm going to say something very Matt-tentious here, that's pretentious, but from me, Matt. They never quite felt as fully formed or realized as their predecessors. Like, for me, those movies just left a little something to be desired. Raya and the Last Dragon, however, delivers. It might not be my favorite princess movie, but I think there's definitely a case to be made for Raya and the Last Dragon being Disney's best princess movie. So, here are 5 reasons that Raya and the Last Dragon might be Disney's best princess movie. Or at the very least, 5 reasons it's better than Frozen. Number 5, the animation. If you watch some of my past videos, you know by now that I am in love with classic Disney 2D animation. And to be blunt, I don't love how computer animation has become a full-out replacement for classic 2D animation. They both have their strengths, they both have things that they can do that the other can't. Just look at the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland and tell me that he is not a 2D animated masterpiece, meowsterpiece. Now, it could just be because I'm old and a purist, I don't know, but I've never been a fan of Disney's style of computer animation. Like, when I compare it to Pixar, I think Pixar is incredible, pun intended, at coming up with a visual style that suits all of their movies, and it feels like I'm watching a cartoon. But when I watch Disney's computer animated films, I don't know, like the characters feel like they're caught halfway between being a cartoon and being a real person, but at the same time they're not nearly as terrifying as like a Robert Zemeckis motion capture human, so that's something. But like for me it always kind of feels like I'm watching a video game. Frozen had to be the worst for that. However, the animation in Raya and the Last Dragon is stunning. I think they really took advantage of all the capabilities of computer animation, working with the water effects and the smoke, and the character design is beautiful. I don't know how to get into the intricacies to describe why it works, I just know I was watching it and I wasn't freaked out, so thumbs up from me. And the way that they animated the fight sequences was incredible. This movie was kind of similar to live action Mulan, where it wasn't a musical, and instead the majority of the really heightened moments of the movie where there would be songs in a musical were replaced by incredible, epic fight sequences. And it was this brilliant combination of like hand-to-hand combat, armed combat, and I don't know if they invented this for the movie or if it is actually a historical weapon, but Raya's dad slash Raya had this amazing sword that was like one of those toys, like if you've ever been to a souvenir shop where it's an elephant and you press the thing at the bottom, then the strings release and he goes like, they did that with the sword and it was so cool. Also, this film brought back moments of 2D animation, which just made me so happy. Anytime there was some kind of fantasy sequence or flashback, the style of the animation switched back to 2D. And it was so cool, and I just loved having that mix. It was stylistically brilliant, and it just made me smile to see 2D animation back in a Disney princess movie. Okay, moving on. Number 4, the world of the film. I am in love with this fantasy realm that Disney created for Raya and the Last Dragon. If you haven't seen the movie, well, massive spoiler alert, but the entire film takes place in a land called Kumandra. Kumandra is broken up into 5 kingdoms, each one named for a different part of the dragon. We have tail, talon, spine, heart, and fang. And of course, we got to visit all 5 kingdoms throughout the course of the movie, and what I love is how Disney developed a distinct fictional cultural identity for each of those 5 kingdoms, and we got to see how each kingdom chose to uniquely adapt to the plague, basically, that this entire movie is about. And that was so cool. And this is definitely just a personal preference thing because I really love road trip movies. I really love movies that, through their story, take you on some kind of exploration of all the nooks and crannies of whatever world the film is taking place in. This has become a pretty common formula with Disney princess movies. Just think about Tangled, Frozen, and Moana. They are all about a journey of some kind. But if you've ever taken like a writing course or read a motivational poster, you know that it's about the journey, not the destination. But those movies always kind of low-key disappointed me because they were about the destination. Like, the journey wasn't the point of the story. The journey was just a minor inconvenience to get to the point of the story. Now, that's not to say that it stopped them from being great movies. In Tangled, they need to get to the floating lights, and when they do, it is beautiful. In Moana, she needs to return the heart of Te Fiti, and when she does, it is beautiful. In Frozen, they walk up a hill and then they walk back down that hill, and it's a movie. But in Raya and the Last Dragon, it is about the journey. The whole film is built around this idea of unifying a broken kingdom. And by the end of the film, when we get to the movie's 3rd act, it is so good because by then we've seen all the kingdoms, we've met characters and fallen in love with characters from all the kingdoms. And therefore, the journey was the destination. Oh, 2 degrees. And this actually brings me to point number 3, the story. As far as I know, Raya and the Last Dragon is Disney's first princess movie based on a completely original story. Of course, all the other ones are based on famous fairy tales, or in the case of Frozen, they're very mediocre pieces of Hans Christian Andersen fanfiction. Moana was pretty close to being a completely original film, but Maui is a very real, prominent figure in Polynesian mythology. With Raya and the Last Dragon, this movie was completely a Disney creation, and so they weren't tied down by any pre-existing characters or mythologies or plot points. They had free reign to create their own fairy tale, and they created a beautiful one. The story setup is so simple that it's brilliant. Visit 5 kingdoms to collect broken pieces of a dragon gem to save the world. Done. But the reason it's so effective is because they tie that story setup into the movie's overall themes of unity and of trust, and it works so well. There's no set villain in this movie. Everyone is working with one clear goal: survival. And they don't need to overcome a villain in order to achieve that goal. They need to learn to work together. Kind of ironic that a Disney movie about the importance of a community overcoming their differences and working together to eradicate a plague would come out in 2021, but that's none of my business. The point I'm getting at is that Raya is a journey without any detours. Every scene, every character, every moment is working towards the same thing. Which brings me to number 2, the villain, or the lack of a villain. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you here. I really miss classic Disney villains. I am here for rich character development. I am all about nuance, but I also really like cool characters, cackling and capes and fun costumes, you know? Bwah ha ha, ho ho ho, wah ha ha. The last really great classic Disney villain we got was Mother Gothel in Tangled, and that was almost 10 years ago. Ever since then, Disney has really jumped on this trend of the villains either being surprises or parts of a twist ending, like Hans in Frozen, or Assistant Mayor Bellwether in Zootopia. Oh, spoiler alert, and spoiler alert. Or sometimes the conflict will come from something that either has to do with circumstances or the environment, like what we saw in Frozen 2 or in Moana. And I've never really been a fan of those types of conflicts. For me, when your main antagonist is something to do with circumstance or the environment, it really lowers the stakes. And once everything is resolved, it's just nice. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just nice. Because as beautiful as it is when Moana returns the heart of Te Fiti, or when Anna and Elsa start to reconcile the mistakes that their ancestors made, there was never really an antagonist personified. What Raya and the Last Dragon does really well is that it still uses one of these environmental, circumstantial conflicts, but that is what puts all of the characters into survival mode. It brings out the worst in some of the characters and it pushes them to become antagonists. And the whole point is figuring out how we can turn them into allies. And as a result, all of the characters, villains and heroes alike, have a beautiful, rich nuance, and they're all so well developed. Speaking of character development, that brings me to number 1, Raya. A princess movie is only going to be as good as its princess, so it stands to reason that Raya and the Last Dragon is so good, at least in part, because of Raya herself. Not to say that I'm a Disney princess expert, but I have spoken at length on this channel about what I think makes a truly great Disney princess and a great Disney character. Belle's strength is her humanity and her relatability. Meg is fascinating because she's a flawed character and we get to see her redemption arc. And Aida, from the Disney musical Aida, is still the best Disney princess as far as I'm concerned because she exemplifies everything it means to be a princess and to be a leader. She makes decisions and she makes sacrifices not for herself, but for the good of her people. Raya exemplifies all of the above and more. Raya has the humanity that we've come to expect from every Disney princess, plus a pretty adorable animal sidekick, which is not required but will absolutely be accepted because Tuk Tuk is so cute. And kind of like Meg, Raya is a flawed character, and that's something that we really haven't seen with a Disney princess before. Most Disney princesses' stories are about them growing up and learning about taking on responsibility, and Raya goes through that life experience in the first 20 minutes of the film, and it plagues her with a ton of trust issues that lead her to making some pretty bad decisions, which in turn lead to some pretty tragic losses. And we go with her on that whole life journey. We understand where she's coming from, we understand why she's making the decisions that she's making, and that makes it that much more effective when we see her move past her trust issues to start making decisions to benefit not just her kingdom, but everybody's kingdom. This whole movie is really a princess's journey towards becoming a true ruler. And Raya is the perfect princess in every sense of the word. Well, anyway, friends, that concludes yet another episode of Teacup for One. Let me know in the comment section down below, have you watched Raya and the Last Dragon yet, and what did you think? Also, I'm curious, who is your favorite Disney princess? And if you want to hear me talk even more about Disney movies, Disney princesses, sometimes cats, sometimes Funko Pops, and much, much more, make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. It's super easy. All you have to do is click on my face. Thanks for joining me today, everyone. My name is Matt and I have 2 degrees, and that's the T cup for one. Go away.